Thank you, everybody, for coming to the SELAR-Room. We got fun stuff to talk about this week. We're actually getting back into more real estate information. This week, we're going to talk about credit. But before we do, introductions.
Bryson Ramsey, I'm an insurance agent.
Susan Ramirez, sales executive for a title company.
Daniel Johnson, real estate.
Willie Davis, a loan officer, 243-6684.
You got the NMLS.
You already know.
Yes.
Damn, Tom.
Serious topic. Serious topic right now. We're going to be talking about credit.
Fun.
The thing that allows you to purchase a home because you don't have enough cash in your bank. Because none of us have that much money.
Well, some people have cash in their bank and
Okay.
they have credit.
Some people,
You know,
yeah.
it's a
No, you're
good
right.
thing, you know.
I can pitch in about $50.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's what I'm talking about. I'm about to get another house.
Zero dollars down.
Yeah, about $50.
All right, before we jump into the topic, before we forget, the events.
Events. So, down here in old San Antonio,
South to north.
New Braunfels area, what we have is a folk festival in New Braunfels. This is going on April 13th and 14th at the Museum of Handmade Furniture. What?
Yeah, I don't know if people are going to be able to find the Museum of Handmade Furniture.
I got you.
Where
So
was it?
it's going to be on 1370 Churchill Drive.
Okay.
1370, sorry. 1370 Churchill Drive.
1370.
That's what I'm talking about. Thanks for the backup.
What we got up in Austin?
Incredible. In Austin, we got Madonna is coming down
Whoa!
on the 15th, and she's actually staying through the 16th as well.
Oh.
So 2 days for a tour in Austin. That is the sort of big thing that's going on. There's also a kite festival, but we don't really need to go into that. It's not too crazy. If people want to show up, Zilker Park, that's on the 14th. Bring a kite, bring your kids. There's music, games, all that good stuff.
Local Park. There you go.
Awesome.
Good deal. Now, speaking of kids, they need a place to play. Typically, that's a backyard. To get a backyard, you need a house, either rental or a purchased. And so, how can we make that happen?
Credit.
Yeah,
Credit.
That's how you do it.
Credit. We need that credit to get
So
anything.
guys, in my profession,
Mhm.
once you get to closing, obviously we know they have good credit. So I wanted to ask y'all, how does credit affect your business individually? We're gonna start this way, or we're gonna start this way?
Let's start over there.
Oh, the end. All right. In insurance, credit is interesting. You have a CBI, which is like your insurance score, which is like credit-based insurance score. That's going to affect your rates for both home and auto insurance. Basically, if your insurance score, that credit score is not great, they are going to rate you higher because they view you as more likely to make claims, things of that nature, which is interesting. So if you have poor credit, you could expect your price to be a little bit higher. And it could tie into potentially messing with some coverages or trying to get the price down in other ways if you may have a debt to income to meet for your home purchase, things of that nature. So there's ways to play around with it, but if you have poor credit, expect a little bit higher of an insurance rate.
Is that the same thing with rentals?
It is the same thing with rentals. If you're buying a rental property, pretty much
If you're a rentor.
if you were the one that's...
Like for renters insurance.
Yeah, for renter's insurance, it's not as effective. No,
Okay.
because renter's insurance is, it's going to be anywhere between $10 to $20 a month, most likely. So
Okay.
it's not going to have a large effect anyway. But they don't even check that, to my knowledge, when it comes to the renter side. That's usually on their lease agreements. That's where it comes into play.
Okay, now that we're mentioning money numbers, I want to mention that we are not wealth management professionals. If you do need
Correct.
wealth management advice, please seek out a professional with finances, and they will help you. I do have a fiduciary responsibility to clients that I have.
Fiduciary?
A money responsibility.
What?
I have a money. I make sure that I don't put you in a bad financial situation as much as I can.
Okay, all right. Got the little fiduciary. Okay, all right. I know we were doing that. Fiduciary. Okay, all right. So there's one more thing that
Okay.
we're going to mention too.
Yeah.
The other disclaimer is that we are not credit repair specialists. We are not those credit repair people that come and wipe your stuff clean and get stuff off of your credit report. We are just some people that deal with credit, want to talk about credit today to inform others on how that affects them and how we can help, how you can help yourself pretty much, because we can't help you if you don't help yourself. Simple as that.
Yep. All right. Now, there's three main bodies of credit report people or groups. What are they?
So we were talking about the credit bureaus.
Right.
There's credit bureaus, Equifax, TransUnion, and Experian. These are the three credit bureaus. These are people that are watching on your credit. Each of them have their own way that they do their credit rating system. But when it comes to the culmination of it, at least in the credit or in the mortgage industry, we view all three and we take the middle score based on that. So
do I just have to pay my bills on time to have good credit?
that's a good question. That is a very good question.
I pay my bills on time, but
So do you have good credit?
yeah, so doing all right.
What I will say on that one is that paying your bills on time is one component, right?
Yeah.
But all your bills may not necessarily count towards your credit, right? So the thing about it is that it's important to understand that it's a balancing thing, right? So you have to be able to handle the credit that's given to you. So just because a borrower pays it on time, for instance, when I'll talk about myself, right?
Mhm.
So I didn't like taking credit out. I didn't like borrowing money from nobody, right? Great at managing my money. I could basically handle all my bills that I had, right? But because of that, I had a hard time getting things because there was no proof that I could really manage like borrowing money because I had no credit, right? In order to get that done, I had to go to and this is hold on, let me do this real quick. All right. So I had to go to a credit union in order to borrow money to get a vehicle. Okay. All right. So I went to a credit union. They allowed me to borrow a certain amount, right? And I was able to get money to start my credit, right? And because of that, I made my payments on time. I wasn't late not once. Okay. 30 days, people. 30 days. That's late. Okay. So whenever you're making your payments, you need to make sure you're paying on time. When I say 30 days, that means that after that 30-day period, it hits your credit.
Oh,
Okay.
Right?
wow.
Now, that doesn't mean that you're not going to incur fees for being late, right? So it's important to pay your bills on time so that you don't incur fees, put you into a hole so you can't afford it anyway.
So what is considered bad credit? Is there a certain amount that I should be looking at that says, okay, this is where I'm good versus a bad?
Right. So 580 is kind of that line. 580 and above.
And we're talking mortgage right now.
For mortgages, 580 and above is where you can start asking, how much can I afford to purchase a home? 580 and below is, I need to get this fixed so I can purchase a home, and it can be, is this going to work so that I can rent either a home or an apartment, and your apartment complexes do look at this number as well. So it's important to know where that's at. Is there someplace we can see that number at any time?
So when you start talking about, when you say C, what do you mean by that?
What is my number?
If you're looking it up?
Yeah.
For yourself. Okay, so so there are lots of ways, right? I named before the three credit bureaus, right? Equifax, TransUnion, and Equifax Experian, right?
Yeah.
So all three of those credit bureaus will give you a free annual credit report. Right?
Oh, okay.
So you can take a look at it, right?
Yeah.
So what you can do one a year, right? Or I should say one every 12 months, right? For free. And it will give you a layout of what's on your credit report. Now, this is important because you want to know what's on your credit report. This helps from fraud, right? Because if you have people that your credit's been stolen or something like that, usually that doesn't come out till like after a little bit. But if like something major happens, you might want to get your credit report so you can take a look at it and like actually check it. Another tool that when it pertains to the mortgage industry, right? This is like one of my questions, like to see if like, I have a serious borrower or not, right? And I like to use my FICO. Straight up. I send people to my FICO. And the reason why I like my FICO so much is because it gives you all of your credit stuff.
Oh, cool.
It lays it out so that way you know exactly what's on your credit report, right? What's going on with it, what's good, what's bad, and it tells you what you need to do basically.
Wow.
And it's just a matter of you going through and exercising what they said. And not only that, but you can play around with scenarios in there to see if paying something off, paying something down will affect you.
And I think most people end up using, especially when they're starting to think about this stuff, Credit Karma. I hit a sensitive subject.
It's not
So
accurate.
it's not that it's not accurate, right? It's that as it pertains to mortgage, right?
Mhm.
They don't really have the numbers, right? So when somebody comes to me, and that's one of the first questions I ask, what's your credit score? It's a 638. Cool. What did you use to look at it? I use Credit Karma. I'm like, nope. And the thing about it is that there are 27 different credit scores, right? The combination of those is what gets you your credit areas, pretty much like your credit for credit cards, your credit for automobiles, your credit for mortgage, right? The combination of those, and then it's broken up amongst the 3 different credit bureaus, right?
Okay.
And then they give you your individualized credit score, which we look at, like I was talking about earlier. Now, when you're looking at Credit Karma, they might be giving you your credit rating for credit. It's not that it's not the correct credit score, right? It's just not the credit score that I'm gonna use. So I'm using a different credit score rating than they are for credit or automobile.
So it's important to not just use Credit Karma. You may get it to get a pulse, but not necessarily check the bank type.
Right.
Okay.
Exactly. So if you really want to get in the sticks, that's the reason why I'm always like, I know for a fact my FICO, and I'm pretty sure there's some other ones that are out there, but it has to be broken down in the same way I view it. That one is very similar to what we look at. So it's going to give you an indicator of, hey man, if you're seeing it and it's showing that you're at that 580, you might want to start pumping it up a little bit because there may be some other factors. Now, if you were like a 580 borrower, right, and you got a large amount of funds, and by that I'm talking about like enough to pay down a down payment and cover your closing costs.
Are we talking like 20%?
Well, heck yeah. If you got 20%, then yeah, most definitely, right? And you might not be too much of an issue, but most of the time when you have a borrower that's in that position where they have a 580 credit score, they just don't have the funds, right? So we have to look at other things, other products and other programs in order to get them up. And usually those requirements are around a 620.
Now, Willie, random question, but if someone's below that 580, is it even worth their time of trying to look through things, looking for a home, or is that kind of just like not the time for you to get things
It's not
in
the
place?
time. I'm gonna be honest, it's not the time. And the reason why is because it's gonna take you a while to get your credit score back up. So, and the thing about it is that you don't wanna get all excited about looking for a home. You get out there with Daniel, he's got y'all hyped up, and then he goes, hey, you got a pre-qual? And you go, no. And then he sends you to me, and I'm like, hey man, I got some news for you. Your credit score is below a 580, you got like 400. Like, you're gonna have to go to credit repair. You're gonna have to do something, or you're gonna have to work on your own and do some work, right? So you can save that money for credit repair, right?
How long does credit repair take?
It depends. You can't really say, right? Everybody's different.
Okay.
If somebody's at a 560, it might not take them that long.
I know that I've heard that there are several factors that influence credit. Can you tell me what those are?
Well, you educated yourself. Why don't you tell me? I know you don't. Tell me what you learned.
I did. I looked it up. So payment history, that's a big one.
Right.
The amount owed, right?
That's correct.
The length, how long you have your credit cards for.
Look at that.
New credit.
New credit.
And types of credit in use.
Yes, that is it. That is great. So all those are the culmination of those 5 topics is what basically builds your score.
Now those are not split equally.
Right.
They have a different percentage of each one.
Yep.
I think you said them from the higher percentage to the lowest
Yep.
percentage.
Yep. Do you have those percentages written down?
I do, yeah. It looks like the payment history itself is 35%.
Boom.
The amounts owed is 30, and then you got 15% for length of credit history, and then 10% each for new credit and types of credit.
Yep. That's it. So let's break those things down. The first one.
Payment history.
Okay, payment history. When you start talking about that, right? We're gonna look at your history of payments and how you've been doing, right? So if you have something that's in your credit, right, and we're talking about like you've been making your payments on time, right, and your history looks good, we're good, right?
What if you have like 1 month where you forgot or you couldn't do it?
So
does that hit you hard?
It does. It depends, right? So if we're talking about something that's recent, like within a 30-day period, right, you just missed a payment, that's gonna hit you pretty hard, right? Because we're talking about something first, that's your new credit history, right? So that's gonna impact you a lot. So that's one of those high percentage items you have to look at. Now, if we're talking about something that happened like, I don't know, 7 years ago, right? Because that's the limit before it starts to fall off, then it may not impact you as much because now we're talking about something that happened way back. As long as you've been taking care of your history, right?
Yeah,
So,
okay.
7 years is about the cutoff.
Yes, that is the cutoff. It has to fall off.
What's the other one?
Amounts owed?
Amounts owed. Okay. So this is one I was talking about. This is the reason why I like the My FICO app, right? It actually turns red on things that are like, hey, you might want to pay attention to this. And one of those things is credit limit.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
If you pull out a credit card for $1,000, right?
And you're at 800 every month.
Mm-hmm. You're at 800, 900 a month, right? Then it shows that you need money, right? So you're gonna have to keep pulling out credit. So you don't have enough income to basically, you're living above your means.
So do they want to see it at 50% or below?
Boom, 50%, 30%, and between 30 and 10% is optimal.
Now, when you pay off a credit card, should you close it?
No, absolutely not, because you just cut off your credit.
Credit
Your
history?
credit. Yep.
Yes.
That was
So-
not your credit history, right? If you close an account, it just completely
Yes.
shuts off the
So-
history of that.
If you have a borrower, right, that's young, that's just getting into credit, right, they can't compete with somebody that's been like, they've had credit for like 30 years or 10 years, right?
Mhm.
Say they have that one Discover card, right, that's at $3,000. Both of them have a $3,000 Discover card, right? That person that's had that Discover card for about 30 years, that's been managing their money right, and they have it all together, right? They're gonna outdo that person that's young that just got that credit card that's doing the exact same thing because they have that history with that card, right? And that's the reason why it's important not to cut off your cards, right? You may want to just like not use it, but don't close it.
Okay.
Right? You want to use it, right? Of course, because it helps your credit, right? But use it wisely.
New credit.
New credit. Okay. So there are some games with that. When we start talking about new credit, right? Say if you just go, you just need a credit card, you open it up, you get your new credit, right? That's fine, right? That's not gonna be too bad. It shouldn't impact you too much, right? As long as you're handling your business with it, right? Taking care of it, paying it off on time, etc., etc.
Yep.
Now, if you open up like 30 credit cards, 10 credit cards or something like that, and we see that in new history, or you go out and you go to like 8 different mortgage buildings trying to get a loan for a home, right? That's gonna be looking real sus, and not just that, but it's gonna hit your credit because they're doing hard pulls on your credit. So your credit score is gonna go, it's not like a lot right at first, but the culmination of all this stuff is gonna make your credit go, whoo,
Nickels and dimes make dollars.
boom.
And if I'm correct, if you are opening new credit, you want to do that in a short amount of time compared to doing that over an extended period.
There
Is
you
that
go.
right?
Right, but you just don't wanna do it too much even still. You know what I'm saying? You don't want a lot of people running your credit. You don't wanna be ripping and racing trying to get all these different credit cards or get all these different people to look at your credit, because if they pull it and we're seeing major hits, it raises flags with most credit people that are dealing with that.
And please, do not buy a car when you're trying to buy a home. Horror stories. There are horror stories. People lose their homes because they do that.
So,
And last but not least, the types of credit in use.
types of credit in use. Okay. And so when we start talking about types of credit in use, right?
Is it basically like responsible uses and irresponsible uses? No.
No,
Okay.
what that's referring to is when we're talking about a good credit mix, right?
Okay.
So you want different types of credit, right? It's not like it's
Car,
not beneficial.
school,
A car, yeah,
or
yep.
college
A
education.
mortgage, a car, a credit card. Maybe you had a ring that you purchased from K's, right? And you're paying all that stuff on top. That's your credit mix. Right, that's a good thing, because the thing about it is that it's not the same thing, right? And as long as you're taking care of it, then we got, oh, this person can really handle their credit, right? This is going to help you increase your credit.
So maybe don't be like the person that I know who bought a dog on credit. It's probably a bad idea.
Not necessarily.
Unless you're
I love
diversifying
dogs.
here.
Oh, there you go.
Okay, I love dogs too. I'm just saying, if you can't afford to buy
Monthly
a dog, you
payments
may
on a
not
dog
want to
is
buy your
crazy.
dog until you can afford it.
So here's the
When
thing,
you
right?
put it like that.
I don't tell people that it's good or bad, right?
Yeah.
Because if you're doing it and you're taking care of it, why is it bad? Right? If you're able to handle
When
it.
you over.
When you
indulge.
overuse it, right? When you don't have the money for it, or you're like way too much credit, right? Because as you said earlier, you start bumping into that DTI, right? And so that's where you have to be careful with credit, because it's all going to come back when you're going to go get the insurance, or you're going to go get the car, or you're going to go come to me and get a loan. we're looking at like your DTI. Can you handle any more credit?
DTI is also debt to income.
See on it today.
We'll put a math equation at the bottom.
Yeah.
What is DTI?
Yeah, exactly right. So, but the thing about it is that you want to make sure that you're not too high on your debt to income, right? Because at the end of the day, like depending on what kind of credit you're going to be like applying for, whether it be insurance or a car or a mortgage, we're going to look at that debt to income and see if you can handle more. So you might be able to handle another credit card, but you might not be able to handle a mortgage.
Yeah, or even the insurance.
Or even insurance.
If you have a high DTI, Willie's come to me saying they need it under $100 a month. You gotta spin some tires and make it work. So
But you're saying there's a chance.
there's a chance. There's always a chance. But you might have a pretty bare bones policy for the time being. But
You cover the cement that was used to build your foundation, but that's about it.
you might just have high deductible. That's really what it works.
One thing I'll say is, when it comes to credit, the important thing is that you know where you're at, or talk to a professional so that you can find out the steps to take to get yourself where you need to be. I think that's probably all the time we have today, and we'll leave you with all the questions that you have.
Do some self-research too. Those different credit bureaus have websites. Go to the Equifax website, the TransUnion website, and the Experian website, and look at what they have to offer educationally, so that way you arm yourself with the information and check your credit reports to make sure that everything is on there is accurate.
And if you do have questions, feel free to put them in the comments below too, just because we'll be able to check those and answer something for you as well.
Absolutely. Thank you for coming to the Cellar Room, and just remember to
Like,
Comment.
Subscribe.
and share.
thank you so much. We'll see you next week.
See